Hey everybody, this is Mike with the One Stop Co-op Shop, and I'm back with another top ranking video for the year, our second to last, and that's the top 20 solo games of 2023. Well, I say solo, they're almost all either competitive games with the solo mode. There are a couple co-op games in here, but that I would pretty much only ever play solo. And if the lists we have on the regular YouTube channel aren't enough, I also did a video of my top 10 disappointing games for the year. You can check that out on our Patreon page. Lots of exclusive videos over there. But let's get to it and see which games were my top 20 solos for 2023. Starting at number 20, we've got The Lucky 7, a tactical card game where you're trying to keep these operatives alive while defeating enemies by getting your soldiers adjacent to them to attack. This is a really quick playing and fun one. My big complaint with it was that it was way too easy with the rules as printed, but the designer's been really cool and has kept on tinkering with the game. And although I haven't tried it yet, they have an official solo variant with like a bunker that is supposed to make the game a lot tougher and more tactically engaging than it already is. I think with that, this could be an awesome one. I already enjoyed it as it was. So check this one out if you don't mind using a variant to make the game tougher. And if you like tactical play, that's my number 20, The Lucky 7. Next at number 19, I've got the solo mode for Hegemony, the economic game modeling the working class going against capitalists. For this solo mode, you do need the expansion to the game. And you might love this one if you like realistic depictions of economics, interesting economic gameplay, great asymmetry between factions, interesting card play and action choices. It's got all of that in spades. But the reason this is only my number 19 is that the Automa are pretty tough to run sometimes at the more advanced level. They have two Automa, and then the basic Automa isn't very smart, and neither of them in my games tended to score very well, so I think you need some variants to make them more competitive. But if you can get over that, the balance issues, some house ruling, and some complexity, I think this is an awesome solo economic game. Hegemony, my number 19. Next, at number 18, we've got the Star Wars deck building game from Fantasy Flight. This is officially just a 1v1 game, but I did a playthrough of a fan-made, not me, but fan-designed solo mode that works super well for it, and there's actually a bunch of them, but this is one that I liked. With that being said, this is a fun deck builder. It's got this interesting thing where you can attack the center row, the card offer, and destroy cards of your opponent and get bonuses for doing so. That's a lot of fun. It has like little planets that you have to destroy to win the game, but also give you bonuses. It's got all your favorite Star Wars characters, so definitely a good time. That being said, it is one of these deck builders that doesn't really have much culling, so your deck gets bigger and bigger and bigger. It's sort of a deck bloater instead of a deck builder. But besides that, I think this is an excellent time, and again, this fan-made solo mode just needs you to print out a little bit of stuff, and then you're good to go for solo play. That's my number 18, the Star Wars deck building game. Next at number 17 is one I covered very recently. That's the solo mode for Blitzkrieg, which is a quick playing, token laying war game. This one is a lot of fun. It's got interesting choices every game, nice tension between what you're drawing from your bag, leveling up with these technology tokens, and then trying to overcome your opponent in these victory point tracks. And the thing holding this one back from being higher on the list, just number 17, is that the solo is a little bit clunky. It gets a lot easier if you download, I recommend this in the video, one of these player aids on BGG that makes it a little bit simpler to determine what the Automa's action is and collects all of the tiebreakers and things in one place. Once you have that, I think it's pretty smooth, although not entirely smooth. But the gameplay is a lot of fun, straightforward, so fast for a nice, fulfilling little war game. So that's Blitzkrieg, my number 17. My number 16 solo game is Trailblazers. This is the solo mode for this competitive card-laying game, and you're trying to build these paths, and then the advanced solo modes trying to complete certain objective cards and all these things. It's a very challenging game, but very rewarding when you can get all of these paths to match up in really interesting ways. This is a game with a fun theme, a fun kind of like Zen-like quality. It's very quick to play, and just quite enjoyable as long as you don't mind not reaching your goal and failing miserably a lot, because it can be pretty tough, especially at the higher levels. That is Trailblazers, my number 16. Next up at number 15 is Flip Town, a competitive roll and write, or flip and write, I should say, with a solo mode. You are flipping poker cards and using them to determine which action spaces you can go to, with tons of them chaining into other actions in really fun ways. And they have these bots you can play against, or you can just play a beat your own score mode, but the bots make it a lot more exciting. They send you down certain kind of paths for victory points, which keeps the game more varied. And also they penalize you for certain actions, so they kind of change the risk-reward element of the things. And I just love building the poker hand because you use 2 cards a turn to determine your action, and the other card goes into a poker hand, so that's a fun kind of like bonus element. Great flip and right. Flip Town, my number 15. My number 14 is Paperback Adventures. This is a roguelite with word building, combat, and upgrading. What's not to like there? This one has a lot going for it. Really interesting combat system where you can predict the enemies. Fun and varied combos in the equipment you earn and how you upgrade your deck and your letters. Now, I will say, don't necessarily come to this one for a word-building game like Scrabble. Definitely the upgrades and the combat are kind of more the focus, and your words are often kind of ho-hum and basic. But besides that, if you like that roguelite flavor, delving into the dungeon and seeing how long you survive with different combos and powers, this is a great one to check out. That's my number 14, Paperback Adventures. And racing right along to my number 13, we've got Steampunk Rally or Steampunk Rally Fusion, whichever version you want to get. This is an awesome racing game where you are building your machine out of these cards, and then it's a dice placement puzzle to activate different powers, which chain together to let you move, do things to your opponents, all kinds of fun stuff. Now, the only reason this one is a little bit lower on the list, because I actually really love the gameplay in this, is that the solo mode is just a basic see how far you can get in a certain number of rounds. There is no opponent. It doesn't really feel like a race anymore, but it's still a lot of fun. That is Steampunk Rally or Steampunk Rally Fusion, my number 13. Then next, number 12, a pretty goofy one to be on a solo list. This is Challengers, and honestly, this is a better game for a bigger group. That's really what it's meant for. But here's the thing, I got to admit, the solo is pretty fun. They have so many different varied cards you can use and different levels you can go against that it actually stays pretty interesting. And I don't know, the deck construction you do in this game, these like quick combos you build that are quite different every game, and man, I can't wait to get Challengers 2 because then I'll have even more combos to try out. It's just consistently fun. Like, yes, it's it's an auto battler, so you're not really making choices during the round much, but just kind of seeing how things play out and how your combos work to beat the robot or not is consistently fun and exciting. So I don't know, it's not the best at solo, but it's still good enough to be my number 12. That's Challengers. And then finally, just barely outside my top 10 is Voidfall. Now, yes, this one is a competitive and cooperative game, but here's the thing, I literally can't fit more than maybe 2 players on my entire table, and really solo is the only way that I played this much because it's just so much easier to actually fit it and get it played. But this is a fabulous game. It is at only number 11 on my list because it is way too huge, too long, too complex for me to play consistently. It doesn't fit my taste that much, but I love the solo co-op mode. I love the crisis board and dealing with those. I love the different factions, the quick combat, the fun technology growth, the variety in scenarios, just tons to love here. Just, yeah, if you want to play this with more than a solo player, bring a giant table. That's my number 11, Voidfall. And that brings us to the top 10, starting with number 10, Expeditions, the solo mode for this competitive one from Stonemaier. And honestly, I think this is such a good solo mode because the competitive play is a bit solitaire anyway. Like, yes, you're grabbing cards from each other and pursuing objectives at the same time, but mostly you're kind of doing your own thing. This is a great solo mode. It has 2 bots kind of going at once, so it blocks you in multiple spots, but is super quick to run. And the real name of the game here are the card combos. I love the engines you can build, how varied they are with all these crazy cards. I like that they have, like you see here, well, you saw in a second ago, the cards on the board, and that you are trying to like grab them in this fun sort of adjacent way, like moving around to get to things you need for your engine. I think it's a really great design. Not Stonemaier's best this year. We'll get to that in a second. But yeah, this is Expeditions, a really fun one for solo play, my number 10. Next at number 9 is Turing Machine. What an amazing feat of engineering that this game works. And then you can get like infinite combinations of puzzles on the website or playing it on BGA. This one is just so much fun. If you like logical deduction, this is your game. I know you can play it cooperatively and kind of figure things out together. It's great competitive, but really my favorite way to play is solo because just being in my head and thinking through things takes a while sometimes and I don't want to make other people wait. But this one is fabulous. Definitely, if you like logic puzzles, check out Turing Machine, my number 9. Next, my number 8 is another one that I covered really recently, and that is Clank Catacombs. Easily my favorite version of Clank, and I think the best solo mode they've done. Like the other Clank solo modes, it is app-enabled. You're kind of following a little story, and then it's also like hindering you in different ways. And Clank is not my favorite deck builder. Playing Clank solo is not my favorite way to play because I do think the timing and pacing is sometimes a little bit off. Like sometimes you can survive too long and just build up victory points endlessly. But all that put aside, Clank is a lot of fun. The solo mode is great. It has like little story and choices and things as you go, little surprises to discover. And Clank Catacombs, the way you build out the map, that you explore and make choices with it, again, the best version of Clank easily. Such a fun mix of tactical movement and deck building card play. Just love it. That's my number 8. Next at number 7, we have another great solo mode for a Euro. This is Distilled, the game of distilling spirits. Tons of variety in the play of this one. It's a light but fun engine builder. I love the actual distilling of the spirits. This is a theme that I just find really fun and exciting. And then what a cool way to make a solo mode more interesting than just beat your own score without having to run an automa. You are trying to do these different goals. You can make the goals tougher or easier. You're building your way up the pyramid. It's just so clever and fun, and I think works totally great. That's my number 7, Distilled. And the Euros kind of bunched up together here because my number 6 is the last Euro solo mode on the list for this year, and that is Apiary, also from Stonemaier. Man, this one is a blast. It's another solo mode that plays super fast, but still gets in your way in all the right ways. I love the combos here. I like this worker placement where your workers are getting stronger and stronger, but then they go away completely. It's a nice twist on the usual thing where you either have the same workers the whole time or just keep on building and building and getting a bigger and bigger engine. It's tense. It's tough. Lots of variety in the 20, I think it is, factions, and lots of boards you can play on as well. Just a great value for a great solo Euro. This is Apiary, my number 6. Then getting into the top 5 solo games of the year, we've got the Ashes Reborn solo co-op mode that started with the Red Rain set. And this one is technically a 2-player mode, but you're really just like dealing with your own cards and kind of vaguely helping each other sometimes. So certainly I consider this mostly a solo game, and it's a great one. There's a little bit of variety in the bosses with 2 packs out now and more to come. There's crazy variety in the Phoenixborn. This is a deck construction lover's dream here. All the weird things you can build with your characters. It's got that Magic the Gathering feel of really interesting choices with your cards. And then you also have these dice you're making choices with. So this is an excellent, excellent one for, again, deck construction and card play fans. That is the Red Rain solo co-op mode for Ashes Reborn, my number 5. And then for my number 4, another one I covered recently and just totally enjoyed. That is Twilight Struggle Red Sea. I'm a big fan of card-driven war games, and I'm a big fan of Twilight Struggle going way back. So playing this one, where it has a really smooth playing solo mode, well, smooth for me. Not everyone's going to like all the decision charts and that kind of stuff, but a really nice playing solo mode that is a challenge and then gives me that Twilight Struggle CDG feel in 30 minutes. It's awesome. And this is a great game, competitive too. But yeah, I was so excited to find this one. GMT is just knocking it out with war games. This is one of the best ones I played this year. So that is my number 4, Twilight Struggle Red Sea. And here we go, the top 3 of the year. Number 3 is Witchcraft. I wasn't sure if this was going to make it on my list because they're just delivering the crowdfunding copies right now, but mine came about a week ago and I had a chance to play it a bit more just to confirm, because basically when I did the preview, it was the final game. I just wanted to see that it was still good, and it is. It's crazy tough. This game is going to destroy you unless you're playing the easiest scenarios, but the card choice of using these witch cards for their hidden side where they stay around, or the revealed side where they call themselves from your deck and you get weaker and weaker, and the game's getting stronger. They don't care if your witches are being arrested or dying. The game is crushing you. So yeah, it is a tough one. It's a bit for masochists, but awesome strategic choices in the solo play. Great variety in all the modes they offer out of the game. Great variety in the different monsters and missions you'll face. Awesome game. I love it even more than Resist, which was one of my top games last year. Same basic system. That is Witchcraft, my number 3. And then my number 2 is Aeon Trespass Odyssey. This one is the exact opposite of Witchcraft. This one I reviewed, I think I got it right before the end of 2022 and just covered it like right at the start of 2023. So, whatever, it fits on the list. And this is a fabulous game. It takes a ton from Kingdom Death Monster, gets rid of a lot of the stuff that I find annoying with that game. It has a huge sprawling exploration and narrative side. It's got these great boss battles. You just get so much more powerful and get so many cool tools. It is always deadly and challenging. Now, this one's like Voidfall. It barely fits on my table. It's so much stuff. But whereas Voidfall, I could kind of take or leave sometimes, live without if I didn't have it to play. Aeon Trespass, I want to get through the campaign. Now, I don't know if I'll get through all 3 cycles, but at least cycle 1 would be good. There's just so much content in that giant box. Not recommending this to everyone. It's too expensive. It's too big. But it's a great, great adventure, narrative, tough boss battling game. That is Aeon Trespass Odyssey, my number 2. And that brings me to my number 1 solo game of 2023. And hey, we got some 20s in there. 20 Strong is the winner. This is the Chip Theory tiny game of dice placement and battling. And this one is so high in my estimations, partially because of the modularity. They already have 3 sets for it. My favorites are Victorum for a longer, more epic game, and Solar Sentinels for a quicker, simpler game. I will say Too Many Bones kind of falls in the middle and is definitely my least favorite of the 3. But they're all fun. I love the combos you get, the abilities, like how crazy you go each game, how you build up, how the fights get wilder and wilder, how tough you can make the game if you're finding it too easy, although really it's usually too hard. And it's quick playing. It's got a lot of modularity and variety. Those are like Mike's bread and butter. I would always pick a game like this over something like Aeon Trespass because it's just not going to get on my table very often, whereas 20 Strong, I anticipate. I'm really giving number 1 to the system, not just what's released so far. I think they'll have more and more stuff, and I want to play it because so far they've already shown a lot of great creativity with it. My number 1 solo game of 2023 is 20 Strong. So there you go, 20 awesome games for solo play. I thought this was a great year overall for solo. And next week I'm going to have my top 20 cooperative games, which most of them you can play solo as well, but I think the cooperative play is awesome for them too. Definitely check that out. If you don't listen to the podcast, we should have our year in review over there as well. But hope you all have a great 2023 and looking forward to spending 2024 together with you here as well. Good gaming, everyone, and I'll see you at the next stop.